Back on the road, back on the road, and back on the road, back on the road. Steady as I go.
Hi folks, so thank you for stopping by. If you would like to learn how to build a camper van like this yourself, then please check out my other YouTube videos. So if you guys have found these videos helpful, you can help me out in a big way by picking up a copy of my first ever album that my brother and I recorded in Nashville late last year. Any proceeds will go to future recording projects, as well as taking the band on tour and hopefully promoting it. I'll leave a link in the description and talk a little bit more about it at the end of this video.
Originally I took this piece of wood out. This was the existing piece of wood when I bought the van, and I checked if it was solid or not, and apart from a few watermarks here, it's actually a decent piece of wood, so I'm going to reuse this. But for when you come around to doing your own floor, I'd suggest using about a 12mm thick piece of plywood. I had to use 3 pieces in my Citroen Relay, and what you want to do is just basically go around the edges and scribe round with a compass. And then cut it with a jigsaw, as simple as that. So normally at this stage, if you've cut your 12mm plywood to fit inside the base of your van, it's simply just a case of screwing it either into the battens, if you've insulated the floor, which you hopefully have, or screwing it directly into the base of the van. Now I actually previously screwed it into the battens and just took the pieces of plywood and marked out with a big ruler where the battens were running across, so I could see where to screw in later, so it saved me having to make more holes into the base of the vehicle. In my case at the moment, I'm actually, because I'm just using 1 piece of plywood, I'm actually putting all of my oak strips over the top now. As the shape actually fits the van really well, what I do is I'll go around this with a jigsaw following the outline of this piece of plywood, and it will cut all the oak pieces to size. Now you don't have to use real oak strips like I have, it's quite expensive to do that. A lot of people use laminate, which is really good because it doesn't get affected by moisture that well. So that's a good option, or just simply painting it. Cool, so it's all cut to shape now. I've just gone around the edges here and tidied them up. Just check around those, do any adjustments if need be. Now I'm going to give it a quick sand. Alrighty, so this is the sander I'm going to be using. It's a Black & Decker mouse detail sander. They're very inexpensive. It's better to have like a random orbital sander if you've got one, but this one was dead cheap and it will do the job for everything that you need for this camper. So what we're going to do when we're sanding is we'll start with something quite coarse, like either this 60 or 80 grit sandpaper, and then go to 120 grit, which is sort of in between, and 240 is a very fine sandpaper, which make it really, really nice and smooth. So we're going to go through 3 different, going from very coarse, medium, to giving it a really nice light sand and making it real nice and smooth. Hey, so there's the floor in place. So tomorrow I'm going to give it a coat of something to help protect it. and then we'll screw it into the base of the van. Don't forget these edges like this look a bit sort of open and raw at the moment. We're going to later cover with a bit of wooden trim later on, so don't worry about that for now. Same on these sides as well. Put a nice bit of trim over this to finish the edges off. Also, just one more thing quickly before I finish for the day. These strips here were 6mm thick. They're real oak strips, and I got them from a company called British Hardwoods if you want to look them up and use them. But laminate will be probably even better for the job. As I said, it will deal with the moisture better, and it's already going to be resistant to wear, so you can pick those up from most hardware stores. Alright, so next we're going to screw the floor here into the base of the van. So if you insulated your floor and you had run battens across, this is how you can attach those battens to the base of the van. And then you can just simply screw your floor into those battens. But as I mentioned before, I didn't insulate the floor of my van because the headspace is so low. So I'm just screwing directly into the base of the van from the floor here. So here's just one example. I've got some countersunk screws here, which basically means that they have a head like this, which will sink into the piece of wood, and it will then become flush with the wood. So whenever you're drilling into your wood and into the base of the van, you always want to make sure that you check the underside, and don't know if you can see that now, just check that there's nothing on the other side that you're going to pierce with the screw. I would recommend, even though I'm using self-drilling screws, I'd always recommend drilling a pilot hole first. So when you drill a pilot hole, always make sure you use a metal drill bit that will get through the wood and the metal in the base of the van, and make sure it is smaller than the actual drill itself, otherwise you'll make the hole too big, and then the threads, which are these bits here, won't be then able to then hold on to the metal bit. So these are the screws I'm using. Let's see if they've got any size on them. Yeah, they're 5.5, which means they're 5.5mm thick and they're 65mm long. It tells you on here which drill bit you need to use with the heads of these screws, so you always want to make sure you follow these instructions, because if you use a drill bit which is too small, you'll end up stripping the head, which means you'll just end up taking the cross section out, and you won't be able to then unscrew the screw if you need to. Cool, so first I'm going to drill my pilot hole then, using a drill bit that will cut into metal, and it's a bit smaller here than the screw that we're using. So this is a 5.5mm thick screw, this is a 4mm drill bit. I'm going to keep the drill itself nice and straight, otherwise your screw will go in at an angle, and then of course the head of it won't sink in properly, it'll be all wonky when it goes in, so make sure your drill's nice and straight, and off you go. Cool. Just going to brush away any wood that's left. Watch out, these can get quite hot. In goes the correct size drill bit for the head of the screw, and again it's now got a bit of a direction to follow because we've drilled a pilot hole, so just again keep it straight and then just drill it all the way through. Just going to blow away the wood before it goes all the way in. I just want that sitting just about flush. So I'm just going to check the underside that it's gone through okay. So these screws are all on show at the moment, but I've actually fitted these in places where my bench seat is going to be running across, so that'll be hidden later. Previously when I did it, so I did the battens, which I screwed into the base of the van, filled those with insulation, and I put the 12mm piece of plywood over the top, which the 12mm piece of plywood was then screwed into the battens, and then they were countersunk, and later on I glued these wooden pieces over the top so you couldn't see any of the screw heads no matter where I put them. Because I've already put the yoke across the top, you will see some of the screws, but they're all going to be in places which are going to be hidden anyway, so it's all good. Okay, so I've moved on quite a bit with my build actually, since I first put the floor in, but I'm just thinking about this board here. This was the cover for the battery unit. Your battery will most probably be in the front of your vehicle, but I'm just going to very quickly show you how I'm going to deal with this situation, just to give you an idea in case you have the same problem. So I'm using that existing piece of plywood that was over the battery cover, and I'm going to just quickly sand it down because it's a little warm, and then we're going to glue some of those oak strips over the top. The panel is all sanded down, and I've wiped away any of the dust and everything. So I'm going to take these two boards and I'm going to place them on top. And I've made sure as well that the two boards actually line up nicely together and they join nicely. Some of the others didn't do this so well, there was a gap left. So just be aware of that when you're joining the two boards. You can go ahead and lay a ton of wood glue on here, and I would say add this on liberally because it will, if you're doing this technique, your boards will rise if there's any chance of them coming away. You can always wipe away excess glue later. So I'm going to put it all around the sides, right up to the edge. Get my first piece on. Aim for the centre here. And we can go ahead and we can clamp it. Right, and then we can add some weights on here. This is where the battery comes in handy. Oh, jeez. So I try and spread as much weight as possible over the top of this to make sure that it gets a real tight seal on it. Oh, and then we can leave that to dry. I took it through the table saw to give it these nice straight edges and take off the excess. I left it to dry for a few hours before I did that. Now I'm just going to curve these edges off using this jigsaw. Okay folks, so as you can see, our van build has come a fairly long way since we were doing our flooring. I'm about to now go to the next stage of finishing it all off, and I would say as a recommendation it would be a lot easier to do this without all the furniture in. It's just going to be easier for me to get into all of the areas without the furniture there and finish it all off than with the furniture there. So some people decide to put the plywood flooring down first, then put all their furniture on, and then they like to put their laminate or whatever flooring they're using on at the very end. This is to prevent it from scratching or getting damaged or anything as you're working on it. But I think if you can be really careful with it as you're working along, make sure that you don't have any stones or anything stuck to your boots as you're working on it, then you should have no problems with looking after the flooring, and you can go ahead and finish it all then. Also, another thing as well, you have to then go around and scribe all of the flooring to all of your furniture, which is very time consuming. It's a lot easier just to put them all at once and glue them all down together before all the furniture's on without having to scribe. And also when you get items such as like our toilet and our cool box which need to move in and out, there's a lip where your flooring stops, then it's going to hit that lip, so you'd have to carry on scribing all of the inside as well. It's just a bit of a pain. So I'd highly recommend two things then. One is make sure that you put all of your flooring on first before you put the furniture on. Just look after it and make sure you don't scratch it. And secondly, I would also finish it at that point as well. First up then, we want to go ahead and give our floor a good clean. So I'm going to be using some Danish oil for the floor. This isn't ideal for flooring, really you want some proper floor sealant for this, but as it's going to be fairly low traffic, as this is just a weekend camper, I'm going to put a couple of coats of this on. But you could put a couple of coats of this on and a bit of sealant as well. It's tight. So you want to go and get a rag, and you want to dab a generous amount on there, and then rub it on your nice clean floor. And you want to go around all your areas now and just apply a coat of this. Just basically follow the instructions on the tin. But this will need at least a few coats, and we can let it dry after each one. So hopefully you can see the difference that's making on the floor already. It creates a nice amber tone to it. So like I say, we'll leave that for a bit to dry, and then we'll do a couple more and then we should be ready to put some trim on. Okie dokie, so we're almost done with our flooring now. So what I want to do is I just want to take away these sort of harsh edges that we have here, these sort of plywood edges that are on show, and we're going to give it a nice finish with this little bit of trim. So this is just a right angled piece of trim. I ordered this stuff online, so it was cheaper than it was in the stores, but you can get this from most sort of hardware DIY type stores. You can also get it in pine or whatever wood you need it to be in to match your flooring. So my flooring's oak, so I'm going to use these oak strips, which are fairly expensive, so it would be cheaper to get it in pine. So we're going to go ahead and put this into place, and I'm going to have to cut a few angles, and I'm not going to do it on my table saw because it has a tendency to just go mental and just split the wood. So I'm going to do this with a hand saw and just sort of judge it by my eye and just keep putting it back into place until I've got the correct fit. And then we can go ahead and simply glue it on. So I'm just using a tenon saw to cut this. It's got quite fine teeth on here, so it's not going to give us any harsh edges. It should give a fairly clean cut. So as you can see, it doesn't quite fit into that slot as well as I'd like to, so I'm just going to take it back and just try and correct this until I can get it to fit correctly. Right, so now I've got one of my pieces cut, and I've got them cut to shape to fit around this edge here as well. And I've cut it at an angle just to get it right into that corner. Just make sure that there's nothing, no debris or dust or anything on top of your surface, and you can go ahead and lay a good line of this stuff all the way down. This is Gorilla Wood Glue again, as always, and just lay it down across your wooden trim here. I'm going to just put that into place so we don't need it, and just hold it into place. You might get a bit of excess glue coming out like I have here, which if that is the case, you can go ahead and wipe it away. The only thing about Gorilla Glue is it isn't the tackiest glue when you're actually putting things into place, so you may need to use some clamps or put something on top of it just to hold it into place, put some weight on it. Great, so leave that to dry for a few hours. I'm going to go around to the other side and do the same with the trim, and then we can come back to it in a few hours time, release the clamps, and it'll all be done. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Please like and subscribe and check out our other content on all things camper. As I mentioned before, I've just recorded my first album and will need all the help I can get, so I'll leave you with an album preview for now and a link in the description if you'd like to pick up a copy.
She does all that she can. Yes, anymore. Time, I'm heading west, yeah, till I cross that line. $6 short, but my soul is clean. I need one more dime. The fruit machine swirling waves on me. Yeah. You put their cold and harsh demeanor, it'll soon come back around. So don't let the bastards get